Everyone knows Charles Dickens, the master storyteller who shaped Christmas as we know it. But did you know that the story behind his most famous ghost tale began with a house?
This house, Gad's Hill Place. But what if Dickens' great Christmas story wasn't one he wrote, but one he lived? He dreamed of owning Gad's Hill Place since he was a boy. Not for what it was, but for what it represented. Everything he believed he could become. But the house he finally called home became the last chapter in a lifelong fascination with the uncanny, a fascination born in childhood. Today, we are not just talking about Dickens. We are walking with him through his memories and the things that shaped his stories and how strangely these stories have shaped Christmas as we know it. Oh, look at this. But stay with me because we are standing inside Dickens' house. And let me tell you, it feels nothing like reading about him. It feels real. It feels so present. Look at this. What if the way we celebrate Christmas as we know it, the cheer, the gatherings, the stories by the fire, wasn't a timeless tradition at all? What if a huge part of it was shaped by one man who carried a few ghosts of his own? Not the chain-rattling ones, but the quiet ones. Let me tell you a story. A boy walking the Medway roads in cold air, and one day he looks up and sees a red brick house on a hill, Gad's Hill Place. He said that, to him, it looked like a mansion. His father tells him that if he were to be very persevering and were to work hard, he might someday come to live in it. This sentence stayed with him, not as history, but as direction, because Dickens' childhood was all warmth and stories. There was poverty, and there was fear, and then there was the blacking factory. And that was a place that marked him for life. So that house up on a hill stopped being just a building, and it became more than a dream. It was motivation, really, and somehow young Charles quite impossibly did it. He became the most famous writer of his age. He captured Victorian England in all its cruelty and humour, and he created unforgettable characters that still feel alive today. But running through everything he wrote, there is something else. And that is the fascination with the uncanny. We're not talking about monsters or cheap scares, but that unexplainable feeling that something is there, just out of sight. And it is something that you do feel here. Now, stay with me. Dickens never once said that he's seen a ghost. But did he believe in ghosts? Absolutely. Just not the kind of ghosts that people would expect. In order to understand the stories that cling to this house, we need to understand the hauntings inside Dickens' mind. Before he was Dickens, with capital D, Charles was just a child in Chatham, Kent, where he lived from about 5 to 10. This was just before everything fell apart.
and years later he would say that these were some of the happiest times of his life. This was home, crowded, loud, full of siblings and warmth, and the first glimpses of darkness. Rochester, the cathedral, the river, the marshes. Decades later, Dickens said this landscape never left him. You can see it everywhere. The cathedral haunts Edwin Drood. Restoration House becomes Miss Havisham's home. The cooling marshes, the inspired, the opening moments of Great Expectations. When Dickens was very little, his nanny, Mary Weller, filled his nights with horror. She just didn't tell stories, she performed them. Her favourite story was Captain Murderer, the story of a man who married women and baked them into pies. Yummy. Anyway, what Dickens remembered was how vividly she told the stories, her performative style, and especially how the story stayed with him into adulthood. He remembered the story so vividly that years later he wrote a short story called Captain Murderer. But Miss Mercy didn't stop there. She took young Charles to funerals, wakes, churchyards. As Dickens grew, that early terror didn't disappear. It evolved. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because Dickens didn't chase ghosts, he became fascinated with the way that people experienced them. So the natural next step for him was to become, well, wait for it, an amateur conjurer, a magician. He would perform for friends and family at parties, even here in this very house, in this very room. And then came mesmerism. Think Reiki, but Victorian, without the spirits and without the religious bit. Just the belief that the human body has an invisible magnetic force that could be influenced. He didn't just believe in it, he witnessed it, he practiced it. It was proof that the mind could create visions, sensations, and even hauntings. The Victorian world was drowning in spiritualism, with seances, table tipping, ghost photography. And Dickens, well, he was 100% open to it, but ruthless. He helped found London's Ghost Club, not to prove that ghosts existed, but to find the truth. He attended seances, he investigated supposedly haunted places, and he exposed frauds when he found them. For example, one night when he was already living here at Gadshill Place, he received a letter about a ghost seen near Larkin Monument. Most people would have laughed it off, but he took his sons and he went and investigated it. He said he didn't find anything, but he still went, because what haunted Dickens wasn't ghosts, it was a feeling. Dickens believed that the mind could be its own haunted house. You get a chill, you get a premonition, you know that feeling before you get bad news. But why? In 1865, Dickens was travelling back from France when his train derailed at Staplehurst. You know, that sensation when the body knows before the mind? Well, that was the backbone of the signal man. In the story, the figure doesn't speak. It doesn't explain itself. It only appears and raises its arm. It isn't really a ghost story. It's a story about forewarning. It was not an apparition, not a vision. While the accident happened in Staplehurst, the place Dickens describes feels unmistakably like Higham. The chalk cliffs, the tunnel, the sense of being shut away from the world, two experiences fused into one. Tightening, chill, That feeling just before something happens, Dickens didn't push it away. He stayed with it, and he turned it into words. It is hard to imagine now, but in Victorian times, Christmas was fading. Factories ruled life, people worked through Christmas Day, and the old traditions were disappearing. Sounds like Christmas needed a hero, maybe. Or maybe just a struggling writer in need of a hit. In 1843, his fifth child was on the way, his books weren't really selling, and debt was closing in fast. Then he visited Manchester and saw poverty up close. London had poverty, but Manchester in the 1840s was something else. It wasn't just misery, it was industrial misery. So in 6 frantic weeks, 6 weeks of walking, laughing, crying, not sleeping, he wrote A Christmas Carol. He called it My Ghostly Little Book. It sold out in days, and it did not just succeed, it revived Christmas. He pulled Christmas back into the home, and he made compassion central. Ghost stories were ancient, yes. Long before Christmas, yes. Long before Christianity, yes. Winter was when the veil thinned, long nights, cold rooms, and a fire burning low. Dickens didn't invent ghost stories, he did something much cleverer. He brought the stories to Christmas and made them mean something. Ghosts as memory, ghosts as warning, ghosts as second chances. He gave us stories told by the fire on Christmas Eve, surrounded by family and friends. And the Victorians absolutely loved the blend of fear wrapped in meaning. Charles Dickens reinvented Christmas as we know it. And here's where things quietly overlap. Because Dickens didn't just come back here to buy a house. He came back here to something he already knew. Years before he owned Gatshill Place, years before he could afford it, he'd already written it into one of the most famous Christmas stories ever told. They left the high road by a well-remembered lane and soon approached a mansion of dull red brick with a weathercock surmounted cupola on the roof and a bell hanging in it. Sounds familiar?
Success brought Dickens back here. When he bought Gatshill Place in 1856, he wasn't just buying a house, he was stepping into childhood prophecy. And this bit matters. It's the only house that he bought outright. It's the house where he lived the longest, and it's the house he died in. He didn't move his huge family here straight away. It took a year before he could pour money into this place. The big changes, like the extensions, didn't properly happen until then. And it wasn't until 1860 that the whole family finally moved in. Now, there is quite a lot of myth around the delay. One was the extensions that were needed to the house, and one was this tunnel. This was a very important feature in Dickens' house. You see, by the time that Dickens moved here with his family, it was really famous, and people would come here trying to pick through the trees just outside this fence. Now, there would have been trees all in front here, trying to block the view from the curious people trying looking in. And it was actually quite funny because when I was here a couple of weeks ago, I was standing in the doorway and there was a group of people right in front of me waving and looking in. And that kind of gave me an idea of what it might have felt like for him. Now, what was on the other side? A chalet, a Swiss chalet. It was a gift from an actor friend of his. And that is where he would go and write. The tunnel suited him perfectly. Privacy, safety, and a secret way from the house to the chalet. And this is now on private land, so we can now go to the other side. Dickens was a walker. He walked easily 10 miles every day. He walked to run errands, he walked to work things out, he worked to think. Kind of reminds me of someone I know. Now, as we walk towards the house, there are two features that are actually quite interesting. Two wooden benches here outside, which apparently come from Shakespeare House in Stratford-on-Avon. And that matters because Dickens loved Shakespeare. He quoted him, he performed him, he read him. And when Shakespeare's house was at risk of being bought, dismantled, and taken to America by P.T. Barnum, he helped save it. And then there's this hill, Gad's Hill, and this is where
Sir John Falstaff from Henry IV planned a robbery.
And there is a beautiful pub just across the road called the Falstaff, which was Dickens' local. But Hamlet was Dickens' favourite play, and the wonderful school that is now here at Gad's Hill Place that allowed this video has adopted one of Hamlet's quotes as a motto. It's my favourite play too.
On June the 8th, 1870, Dickens was sat right here. And yeah, it is hard to imagine that this used to be a dining room. He collapsed and he was laid on a sofa like this one. This is not the original. The original is at Dickens' birthplace in Portsmouth. And he never gained consciousness. And he died the next morning on the 9th of June, 1870. In the same house he dreamed of as a boy. I'm in what they call now the death corner. It feels creepy. After Dickens died, the stories started to gather around this place. Not right away, not dramatic ones, just impressions. I've experienced some of these myself. No one here is saying that this place is haunted, and Dickens would have understood this better than anyone. Houses don't need ghosts to feel haunted. They just need memory, silence, and someone willing to listen. He taught us what a haunted house should feel like. So, does Charles Dickens haunt this place? Well, you know, nothing says Christmas like a good ghost story. That should be good.
That's brilliant. That looks so good.
Well, it's a wrap. Yay! Yay! Thank you.